Hi everybody, my name is Brady and I'm a 19th century American historian and we are back with another React video, and today we're going to be doing more Hamilton. We have Take a Break. I'm going to miss the Shin videos, but we're still doing the animatics. I would do the Disney Plus stuff, but I'm scared of how that would play out next time we have a copyright crackdown. It seems that you can get away with music a little better these days than you used to, because they just claim the video and take the revenue from it, and that's fine. But to have the actual musical playing, I'm still a little bit skeptical of that. So we're doing this, and I had to find somebody else because Shin didn't do the second act. But I'm excited for this one. It should be a lot of fun. You don't have the votes. He needs the votes. That's what's going on right now. Hamilton's trying to get his financial plan through, doesn't have the votes, and scene. Here's where we are. So I'm going to be pausing a whole bunch, doing a lot of historical breakdown, and I'm very excited for this one. It should be cool. I was really hyped to do more of the second act. I just wanted to get some of the first act songs done because they were kind of essential. They were in such high demand, but this is where I'm going to hopefully thrive. So let's get this started. So they're doing French right there. Philip would be learning French. I mean, Hamilton is fluent, and apparently he spoke French better than a lot of his colleagues, I suppose we can call them, fellow founding fathers. Benjamin Franklin, he spoke a little bit of French, but he kept a lot of the American in there. It kind of kept his American mystique. Thomas Jefferson wanted to speak French well, but apparently he wasn't as good as Hamilton. Hamilton's French was pretty darn good. And this is a good thing for Philip to be learning because at the time, French was a very important language for perhaps a political future. It's the language of diplomats. If he somehow became an ambassador or something, French would be a very powerful tool to have in his pocket. So seems like they're grooming him young.
My dearest Angelica, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. I trust you'll understand the reference to another Scottish tragedy without my having a name to play.
Macbeth. I don't know Macbeth that well, so a lot of these references are probably going to go over my head. I know plenty of plays. That's just one that happens to have eluded me at this point, and it's a shame because apparently it's one of the better ones. But I'm just going to let these references go over my head at this point because I have nothing.
Hey, think me Macbeth. Ambition is my folly. I'm a polymath, a pain in the ass, massive pain. Madison is Banquo, Jefferson's Macduff, and Burnham Wood is Congress on its way to Dunsinane. And there you are, an ocean away. Do you have to live an ocean away? Thoughts of you subside, then I get another letter, and I cannot put the notion away.
That is something that is based on their letters. Hamilton really wants her to come back because she's overseas right now. So they really miss her. They were close. That is undeniable at this point. To say that they were as close as the musical depicts, I might be going a little bit too far with that, but they were flirty in that romantic sense, but they were also just generally friendly, so obviously they would miss one another. And she's one of Hamilton's main correspondents. Angelica made a great correspondent. She was, like I've said in previous videos, she's the type of lady you would want to exchange letters with. She was a good conversation, especially for somebody as intelligent as Hamilton. She's probably one of the best female correspondents you could find at the time. You won't find many women who are that well written. American women, at least.
I'm on my way.
There's a little surprise before supper and it cannot wait.
I'll be there in just a minute. Save my plate.
Alexander, your son is 9 years old today. He has something he'd like to say.
this is interesting, and I've always pondered Hamilton's relationship with his kids. They clearly had all the respect in the world for him. One of his kids ends up writing a biography of him. I wouldn't go to it for accurate historical information because obviously once you filter your dad's legacy through the son, some stuff is going to get filtered out. Maybe some of the negative stuff that they don't want to deal with. And that's something that the musical addresses pretty well. The historiography of Hamilton, even though they get a whole bunch of stuff wrong for either artistic reasons or interpretive reasons or whatever it is, they do address a lot of stuff, especially in later songs.
Philip, take it away.
Daddy, look, my name is Philip. I am a poet. I wrote this poem just to show it. And I just turned 9. You can write rhymes, but you can't write mine. What? I practice French and play piano with my mother. I have a sister, but I want a little brother.
Aw.
My daddy's trying to start America's bank.
Okay. I think he had a brother at that point. This is one of those things, it messes with the timeline or whatever. Like, he's the big boy, but I'm pretty sure at this point he already had a brother. He does grow up to be a poet. Hamilton himself was also Hamilton. They're all Hamilton. I do that all the time. But Alexander, he was also a poet. You can find plenty of his early poetry. I don't care for it personally. He clearly had a talent for writing. Some of it was just a little bit weird. I don't like him as a romantic writer, honestly. It just never really, it never connected the way I liked it to. I don't know. Maybe it's because I know too much about the guy. That's probably a huge part of the problem. But yeah, poetry runs in the family, I guess.
Take a break.
Hey, our kid is pretty great.
Run away with us for the summer. Let's go upstate.
Eliza, I've got so much on my plate.
I'll go stay with my father. There's a lake I know in a nearby park. You and I can go when the night gets dark.
So with this, Eliza and the family are going to go to stay with Philip Schuyler. That is a thing. However, the reason, maybe they had like romantic plans involved, but I believe this is also, it also has something to do with the yellow fever outbreak. They wanted the family to get away during that because that's something they had to deal with every year. So to go somewhere a little bit more secluded would probably be a good idea. And then and it's so sad, and we're going to probably talk about this again when we get into the actual Reynolds affair. They're talking back and forth, and Hamilton, while he's carrying out this affair, he's being like, no, stay up there as long as, no, even longer than you'd like. No, don't rush your comeback. And while this is happening, he's carrying out this infamous affair, which, oof, not much else to say. But I mean, it seems like he was concerned about his family, but there comes a point where you're reading it and it's like, oh, this is really cynical, isn't it? Oh, I don't like this. The whole episode is pretty ugly.
I will try to get away.
My dearest Alexander,
Ha, no.
you must get through to Jefferson. Sit down with him and compromise. Don't stop till you agree. Your favorite older sister, Angelica, reminds you there's someone in your corner all the way across the sea. In a letter I received from you 2 weeks ago, I noticed a comma in the middle of a phrase. It changed the meaning. Did you intend this? One stroke and you've consumed my waking days. It says, my dearest Angelica. With a comma after dearest, you've written my dearest Angelica.
So this is probably something that you'd want me to talk about. Yeah, this is one that I didn't know by the time that I saw the musical live, but I looked into it, and it took me a minute to actually find what they were referencing. But I eventually found excerpts of the letters that they're talking about here, and it's actually flipped, weirdly enough. You have Angelica, who's obsessing over this here, but it's actually the other way around, and it's not as romantic in practice as it seems here. What, you want a treat? You want a treat? Here you go. There you go. It's not as romantic in practice here. So it's actually something that Angelica sent to Hamilton first. A woman would normally be like, "My dear sir," or something of that sort. But she said, "My dear, comma, sir." So instead of being her dear sir, he is her dear, which is far more emotional, far more romantic, far greater in attachment. Even for romantic writing at the time, and they were both very romantic writers in general, that's why a lot of their material ends up getting misinterpreted depending on who they're talking to or whatever, but that happens a whole lot because of the writing style. But with that, even Hamilton's like, you didn't mean that, did you? You've clearly misplaced a comma here. When you read the excerpt, though, Hamilton kind of... I get a vibe here, and I can't say this for sure. I get the vibe that he was kind of hoping she was flirting with him a little bit, but that's just kind of one man's interpretation here. But yeah, it's actually flipped. And Hamilton's the one who's like, yeah, you didn't mean to put the comma there. Unless there's another letter where they had an issue with a comma, but I don't think we had this same situation multiple times unless they were really doing some very thinly veiled flirting.
Anyway, all this to say, I'm coming home this summer at my sister's invitation. I'll be there with your family if you make your way upstate. I know you're very busy, I know your work's important, but I'm crossing the ocean and I just can't wait.
So this takes place right before the Reynolds affair, so we're in roughly 91, or she would be planning to come back in 91. That didn't happen. She does come back, but not during this time. This is one of the products of condensing the timeline so much. These things definitely happen. And also for narrative reasons, they definitely want to bring her back because she is such a strong character in this fictional version of the story. You don't want her to I guess they could do a thing where she's still corresponding with him or something like that. They could make it work, but I guess it hits harder when she comes back. So I get that.
You won't be an ocean away, you'll only be a moment away. Alexander, come downstairs, Angelica's arriving today. Angelica, Eliza,
Skylar sister.
Alexander, it's good to see your face. Angelica, tell this man John Adams spends the summer with his family.
Yeah, John Adams. John Adams, he's a weird example. And comparing Hamilton and John Adams as family men, what are you doing? You don't want your treat? Okay. He might start screaming. We might have to deal with that. Okay, so where was I? Comparing John Adams and Hamilton as family men is difficult. Hamilton, he seemed like he was more affectionate with his children, but more distant. While Adams was there physically for his kids a lot more, he was emotionally distant. He had high expectations for them, and there was definitely a lot of pressure there. You read anything from John Quincy Adams, you kind of get the vibe that he had daddy issues. Charles Adams, he had some serious issues. His liver was all messed up. He essentially died from alcoholism. So that's a thing. I don't want to compare them as parents because very different styles. But also, Adams is probably not the best example. Knowing what I know now, she doesn't know that.
Tell this man John Adams spends the summer with his family.
Angelica, tell my wife John Adams doesn't have a real job anyway.
Oh, I remember that hitting when I saw it live, and I lolled. I laughed as out loud as can be. because John Adams, like he's poking fun at John Adams, but John Adams would probably agree. It's vice president is not a real job. I guess today it is a very consequential position because we have 80-year-olds holding the office, but nobody thought George Washington was going to immediately kick the bucket. It was actually quite a surprise when George Washington did. It felt rather early. Adams kind of understood that he was basically nothing, but he could be everything. He was the successor, but he was like barely part of the cabinet. Washington didn't consider him to be part of the cabinet, so while it's teasing the tension between Hamilton and Adams, it's on a point where they would probably agree. But there is going to be tension, and I guess I should save that more for a little bit later to talk about, because we are definitely going to get to more of that later in the show.
You're not joining us. Wait,
I'm afraid I cannot join you upstate.
Alexander, I came all this way. Take a break.
You know I have to get my plan through Congress.
Stay with us for the summer. Let's go
Aw.
and stay.
I lose my job if we don't get this plan through Congress.
Father, stay with our father. There's a leak, I know is your face. Screw your curse to the sticky plate.
Oh, I love that line. So it's going to repeat for a little bit. I like that they say our father, because Hamilton was especially close to Philip Schuyler. I've talked about that plenty already, but I just like that little touch there where it goes from my father to our father, being the three of them, not just the two of them. I get the vibe that they're talking about all three of their father. Dude, this builds real well. Okay. A plan to Congress.
I can't stop till I get this plan through Congress.
Okay, it's over. It's over. We good? We good, homie? We good, homie? Okay. So this one was fun. A little bit of... Okay, I'm not gonna... He's clearly having a day right now, so I'm gonna wrap this one kind of quickly. They mess with the timeline a little bit. It's a beautiful song and builds incredibly well, and I think captures a lot of their characters very well. And I love the little play on the nuances of letter writing. Anytime they do stuff like that, that's a lot of fun. They clearly had to mess with it a little bit, but I kind of liked it in principle. So, now that I'm completely out of order with this stuff, which Hamilton song, or even like the expanded Hamilton universe of like the Hamil drops or whatever, which ones do you think I should check out? And I don't know much about the workshop ones. You guys have been telling me about those. Are there any that are like really different from like the main ones? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to go give my bird some affection, and I will see you guys next time.